Yeah, it is casual. I like that watch, man.
Oh, thank you.
That's the one. Give me the story on that again.
I got this performance when I joined. When I got into business brokers, my third year in. If you make the company $100,000 in 1 year, so they make that after your split.
Okay.
To buy you a watch. And at the end of the day, you start off, you're on a 50-50 split.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go out and buy your own watch, but it's the thought of it that someone, because I probably wouldn't go spend the money on it. And so I wear it proudly.
I love it, man. It's a great piece. Yeah, I mean, Rolex they're built to last.
I could sell this for more money than
for sure.
Than I bought it for. Well, they bought it for anyway.
Yeah. Well, they keep their value is something really cool. And like I always tell Jen that when I go out and buy a new watch, like it's okay, it's an investment.
Because you're a watch person, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I got into it a few years ago, and I learned so there's a game you have to play now, which it's kind of a love-hate thing with Rolex. If you go into an authorized dealer, you can't just walk in and buy a watch.
Okay.
You have to get on a waiting list, and then you have to also spend money with the dealer in other things. Like if you go to a Mayors, for example, you have to buy like, a piece of jewelry or like another, not as popular brand of watch, like a tag or something, else that they can just, give away. And then that's how you work your way up the list. So it's this like stupid game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it's because of the secondary market for Rolex. Like if you get a Daytona or any steel sports Rolex, you can sell it on the free market and make a profit. Now the prices have come down for the secondary market, but a year or two back, it was super hot. I mean, if you bought even a Submariner, if you went in and spent, $9-10 grand on a new sub, you could turn around the next day and sell it for 15 or 16.
It's nice.
Well, yeah, but it's also frustrating because I'm not a flipper. Like I've never sold a watch. I traded one to Jeff Hodson once, but I've never sold one. So I want to buy them and wear them and enjoy them. But then you're going up against all these flippers and stuff, and it's kind of frustrating. It's like I wish you could you have a watch, you have a big, a career thing. Maybe you have, your son is born, you get married, you have a big life event, and you're like, hey, I want to buy a nice watch to commensurate this thing. You can't even walk in and buy the damn watch you want,
So you're the guy that wants to go to the Taylor Swift concert because you really want to go. But you're competing against all the scalpers that just want the tickets so they can go sell them for more money.
Yes. It's funny you brought that up. Jen showed me this meme. I guess there's a bunch of them out there right now. It'll show like a wife, like husband comes home from work, wife says to husband, babe, did you see what Taylor Swift did for Travis Kelce's career? Yeah. Like they never knew who Kelce was. It's like, who's Travis Kelce? And the guy's like, are you crazy? He's like the best tight end in the world. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah. I did watch that game, and the cameraman was on Taylor Swift a lot.
Yes.
Like they kept saying it like during the game.
Yeah, she's in the box and it's like, look, rah. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with the scalpers, so
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm not in the market for a watch at the moment, but I do really like the brand Seiko.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple Seiko watches. I've got a couple Grand Seiko watches. Vinny likes those Grand Seiko watches, and they're just really cool. They're a little bit different. They're Japanese made, and the thing I really like about them is they're all hand finished. So even at watch like Rolex, they're going through an assembly line. So it's like, they're great watches and they keep their value and all that. But with Grand Seiko, there's actually like a guy that has practiced for like 20 years and he just polishes it's called Soratsu polishing. Oh. It's really cool. Yeah, it's different. But the Japanese are very good at engineering.
What's the high-end watch that the pilots wear? Breitling?
Breitling has a big Navitimer, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I think it's a pilot's watch. It's got a big face on it.
Yeah. When I sold a roofing company, $20 million company, the owner is a pilot. And he flies. So I'm like, well, what do you get a guy? One, that just sold a $20 million company, and
nice.
Two, that he's going to appreciate. But what I found is most of the time, a lot of people that have money they're very generous a lot of times with everybody else, but sometimes with themselves, they just won't buy certain things.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We bought him a watch like that.
That's awesome.
We're out to dinner, and we give him the present. He opens up. He was like a kid in a candy store, like Christmas morning.
Nice.
I get a text the next morning from him. He's like, I got home last night from dinner. I don't want to tell you anything. I appreciated the dinner. We had such a great time, but I couldn't wait to get home. I synced up the watch. I did this. He was all ready for it. So I'm like,
so cool.
It's good when you could get someone something that they really appreciate.
That's classy, man. That's really nice of you to do that. In our industry, so we're so highly regulated. We're not allowed to give gifts. I think north of $100 to a client. Or maybe it's 50. I have to ask our compliance department. But and then there's another rule for entertainment. I think that was a little bit higher, like maybe $500 or something. But we can't just like freely give gifts like that. That's just the industry that we're in.
My dad, when he was still in the business, we sold a company in Tampa, and the buyers were a private equity group.
Okay.
KLH Capital, Kyle Madden. And I remember we had the closing. And my dad went to Kyle and he goes, look, we want to do something for you guys. And he wanted to, have the tailor go to their office and get them custom suits.
Nice.
Measure them and all that.
Yeah.
Kyle was all gung ho. He goes, yeah, but I have to check with with compliance to make sure we can. And, because, it could look funny. And, but they got the go ahead from their company. And
awesome.
And they got the experience. It was, they're in their office. The guy come, they measure you.
Yeah. Have you done that?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you get suited up, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, our industry, it's funny, like I started out in the business, I've been doing this 17 years now, and I used to wear like a coat and tie.
Bow tie?
No, a coat and tie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like a jacket with like a tie, but and clip tie, no. And so, that was kind of how I started out, and then, you kind of evolve in the business. And especially, and I think it depends on where you are as well. Like, in Central Florida, it's pretty laid back here.
It is.
And, most of our clients are, small business owners. I've got guys that run construction companies. We've got teachers. We've got, firefighters, very diverse book of business. But, a lot of these guys, they're wearing jeans and boots and tennis shoes to work, and I feel like almost they would be uncomfortable if I got suited up. Now, I got a great story about, to this day, one of my best clients who's been with me forever, and this is when I decided to stop wearing a tie. So I go to see Ed and Gretchen at their house out in Kissimmee. This was back in the day. I used to do house calls. So I show up and I got my tie on and my jacket. And Ed comes to the door, and Ed's a real laid back guy. He's an old hippie at heart. That's how he says it. And Ed, he's got long hair. He's got like a flower print shirt on. Real like chill. And he looks at me and he's like, "What do you got that tie on for?" And I'm like, I was like, "Oh, that's this is how I suit up." He's like, "All right, come in." And we start talking and stuff. I don't think the guy has any money, first of all. It's a very modest home. The guy appears, he looks like a hippie. And I'm young in the business, so I don't really know any different. So I'm like, okay, this guy, he starts pulling out statements. And next thing I know, we're at the kitchen table, and there's statements everywhere. And he's got a lot of money. And I'm like, wow, because as a young guy, you don't perceive somebody, you're thinking like, oh, like, high roller, big house, big car, you don't know the millionaire next door yet. So here's Ed and Gretchen, and they got some money. And then at the end of that meeting, Ed's like, he goes, "Do me a favor." He goes, "If you want to come back here, lose the coat and tie." And I said, "Done." And I never wore one again.
When I got into the business, next year will be 25 years in business. So when I first got into business brokerage, I was selling small businesses. And nowadays I'm more, I'm an M&A advisor, and we sell larger businesses, and I don't really do Main Street anymore. But so one of my very first listings was a vending route. There was a guy that owned vending machines around town.
Okay.
And he would go collect the money out of them and then refill them. And so I sold quite a few of them. What was funny was my father, who was the owner of the company, broker of record at the time, his rule within our company was everyone was in a suit and tie. So I'm going out to meet this guy who owns a $50,000 vending route, and I'm all suited up in the suit and tie and just totally out of place. But then, it was 25 years ago, that was like the image that, a business broker is here, but our image is going to be here. But nowadays, it's the complete opposite. I sell much larger businesses, and I don't sell the smaller businesses. But then no one really cares if you're dressed in a suit or the tie. So now when we come in, and especially I do a lot of home services businesses, construction businesses.
Okay.
They get nervous. You show up on they're all dressed up because my employees will wonder, what are you doing here? Why are you here?
Yeah.
Just,
think you're the IRS.
Dress normal.
Right.
I didn't know I was just abnormal.
Yeah. But the guy that's writing the big check, he tells you to dress down, you better dress down.
You dress down.
Yeah, that's it. It's so funny, that perception, and it definitely matters where you are, what part of the country you're in, what part of the state you're in. But speaking of sales and, if I get one more kid that knocks on my door to sell me solar, I swear to God, I'm going off on him. So in College Park, it's a higher income area. And I think that these solar companies divvy it out. They know they're not just sending their guys out to the wolves here. They're not going to the hood. They're going to the places where there's no gate to get in,
right.
And they know that people have money. So knock, knock, knock. Last night I get another one. It's like I'm literally cooking dinner for Jen and Monk, and so like I got this. I went to Lombardi's yesterday, and you know that family? Yeah. So I get this like beautiful grouper, and I'm frying it. I got the cast iron, skillet out, and I'm like halfway through, and then all of a sudden the alarm, I hear the ting, the chime, someone's at the door. I'm like, all right, I was like, I got it, babe, real quick. So I leave the fish, and I run to the door, and it's this kid. He's like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, not a good time. Sorry, bro. And he's like, what? You know what I'm gonna say? And I'm like, and he's like, real quick, and I'm like, dude, it's not a good time. He's like, when's a better time? I was like, I don't do business door to door. And he's like, yeah, but do you like inflation? I'm like, yeah, I love it. And he keeps going. And I'm like, sorry, good luck, gotta go. And I literally closed the door. And then I kind of felt bad like 10 minutes later, I come back to the fish, and then Jen's like, you said I got solar, it's freaking punk, wasting my time. But then like 10 minutes later, I'm thinking, I was like, God, it was just raining earlier. He's out there hustling. I was real short with him. He was still talking as I closed the door. Then I felt bad. I was gonna like go back out and be like, hey dude, I'm really sorry. Like I respect the hustle. Just don't knock on my door again, okay? I've had like 15 guys already trying to pitch this shit to me.
Yeah, it's hard. These guys, I do the same thing.
But I respect the hustle, though.
You have to. We all started somewhere.
Yeah, I know.
And I had a call yesterday. Someone calls me up and they're like, is this Cress? I'm like, yes. And then they start going into their pitch. And I said to them, excuse me. I said, you realize you didn't even ask me if I had time to talk to you. So, oh, I'm sorry. Do you have time to talk to me? No.
It's like boiler room.
You don't want to be that person, but you feel bad afterwards because you do respect the fact that they're hustling and they're out there making an effort, because so many people don't.
No.
But you mentioned Lombardi, so of course I know Lombardi's big Italian family. Every Christmas, Christmas Eve is a big seafood night.
Oh,
so
really?
My dad goes and my brother goes, and they spend god awful amount of money, but it's every imaginable seafood you can think of, and that's the go-to place.
So that's my wife's Jen's Italian, and her dad is a great cook, but we don't ever do seafood for like, especially not for definitely not for Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done like occasionally he'll do like a piece of fish or crab. We like crab legs. They do crab legs.
Oh no, Christmas Eve there's a seafood salad that has 7 or 8 different type of seafood and fish
awesome.
in there, and everything from fried shrimp to by the time you're done eating this. So big Italian family, grew up in Catholic family, so they'd go to midnight mass. We go to midnight mass on Christmas Eve. So you have this eating fest. And you can't even move, but then you go to midnight mass. Then you get back, it's like, oh, it's past midnight, we can eat meat. But so then all of a sudden the food comes out again. Well, where are you? That's why I'm so big, right? It's all about the food, and who can eat themselves into a coma the quickest, I guess.
This is I know your mom passed.
Yeah.
What? And I know you were close with her.
Yeah.
Was she like the cook in the?
She was the one.
The family.
My mother was. If you came over and you didn't like what she had, but she knew you liked something, there can be 10 different people there. She'll make 10 different dishes and be happy to do it. And all amazing. And she could cook anything, but she was amazing. She could bake. If you had a sweet tooth.
Oh, jeez. I do, yeah. And I can't bake. I like to cook, but I can't bake.
She could bake. Every year on Fat Tuesday, she would make everyone's guilty pleasure, and they'd come over, and that would be dinner.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
God bless. What was her name?
Jermaine.
Yeah,
sweet. God bless her, miss her. But we have the memories.
Yeah, that's all that's it, man. What Jen? Her grandmother and actually both of them passed the past couple of years now. It's been a couple of years, but the grandmother, my father-in-law's mom was a really good, like, authentic Italian cook, and she had an Italian restaurant up in upstate New York where David, Jen's dad, grew up, like, in the restaurant as a kid, and they used to serve Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle, all the Yankees players when they were in the farm leagues before they went pro.
Oh, wow.
I forget the little town it was in, but she would feed all those guys when they were broke and had no money. And they would come in there and she'd give them wine, and then David would take a little, shot of wine. He's got the best stories, man. And so anyways, the grandmother, Bragle was the last name. She would cook these massive feasts. Like Thanksgiving was a big one, and we'd all go over there. And but Jen never got into cooking, So like as she got older, we started to record the recipes, and now we have this book with a lot of her recipes in it. The problem was she never measured anything.
No, pinch of this.
Yeah,
it was all by taste.
I know. So they did the best they could with writing it down, but it literally would say in the book like a dash of basil or a pinch of sugar,
or to taste. My grandmother passed away. My mother passed away. My wife took on the recording of all their recipes and tries to keep up with the tradition at the different holidays to make different things. But boy, in the beginning, it just doesn't taste like grandma or mom's cooking. So she had to tweak it and realize and understand, when they say this, they really mean this.
Yeah. A pinch might not be a pinch in your mind. It might be more of a dash.
And then because they didn't want anyone to know their recipe, they'd leave something out. They just want to put it in there. Yeah. There's audio.
Like something weird, like cinnamon in the sauce.
Yeah. Just something crazy.
Yeah.
And that's just what they would do.
Right.
And that's the fun stuff, You look back and you laugh at those things and the traditions, but it was her parents, your wife's parents?
Yes.
Well, if they can go back in time and just get autographs from those people,
well,
it's funny that would be worth.
This is like me with David Montgomery in our fantasy league.
Yeah.
My father-in-law, the story goes, had like all the rookie cards and like all the Mickey Mantle, everything. And then his mom threw them out without realizing that they were valuable.
Ouch.
Yeah, now I don't know if they were mint condition or whatever, but he still says to this day that his mom threw out all of his old baseball cards and they could have been worth a fortune. We'll never know.
The things we throw out, we look back. I watched one of these TV shows, Toy Hunter or something like that.
Yeah.
He goes around trying to buy all these old toys and he finds things in people's like basements and something, and he's like, "Do you know this is worth like $1,500?"
Yeah.
$8 board game.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
One man's junk is another man's treasure.
Amen. Well, so we play fantasy football. Cress and I have been in what's called a dynasty league, right, for a number of years, and fantasy football's funny because I was always a college guy. And then once I got into fantasy, I started to follow NFL, and I like NFL, the same as college, should probably like equal now. But there's a lot of luck to it, but there's definitely skill as well. I dropped a running back last week, this guy David Montgomery.
Who I would have traded for, by the way.
Don't rub it in. Montgomery was the backup to this kid who they drafted in the first round that I thought was going to get, all the touches. And Montgomery got hurt. So I'm trying to like finagle my lineup. I drop Montgomery and I end up picking up some backup quarterback. And then long story short, Montgomery last night goes off with like 32 touches for 3 touchdowns. And now he's like the hottest thing, in the league again. And I'm just sitting there like, that was like when I sold NVIDIA in December before it went up 400%. You know, those are tough. They sting a little bit. But it's like, at the end of the day, you know, what grounds me is like, well, we have those memories with our families. Like, we have our health. We have, you know, we're blessed beyond measurement. So if the worst thing that happens to me today is that I did something stupid on my freaking fantasy football lineup, it's a pretty good day.
Yeah, but I always tell you, if you're going to do something stupid on your fantasy football lineup, do that in a trade with me.
You've been known to have a couple.
You know, our business leaks over into the fantasy football because, to me, we always have these conversations. Fantasy football's fun and we enjoy watching the games, but it can get a little boring at times. You know, it's like, okay. So we spice it up. It's like we start talking trade. Then we ultimately look back and go, why did we do that trade? Because we were bored. When I was in my office, when I got into brokerage years ago, a friend of mine, Richard Nodelman, he was a business broker also. We shared an office together. And every Friday we called it Make a Trade Friday. And so we'd sit at our desk and we would just negotiate these trades back and forth and just look at each other. You know, an hour and a half of our time would pass and we'd like, what did we just do? Like, we had some fun.
You're sharpening the saw, though.
We are. We're saying who could get the better end of the deal.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Well, it carries over a lot, you say, into business and life.
Does.
It's like with Monk's flag football team. You know, there are so many life lessons that go on in sports. You know, I try to tell people, like, I'm talking to our kids this past week. So we are now 1-1. The first week we came out and we crushed this team 30-0. So now my kids are riding high going into week 2. And week 2, you know, you could kind of feel at practice there was no sense of urgency. Like, even pre-game, like, we're doing our warm-ups before the second game, and they're kind of goofing off, like they're not locked in. And what happens week 2? We end up losing 42-20. So now into week 3, this is week 3, and so now I'm telling these kids, like, listen, don't ever get cocky. Like, don't ever think you don't have to keep getting better each week, because as soon as you hit that point, that's when you get punched in the mouth, and that's when you take an L. So big life lessons for these, 5th and 6th graders this week. And I came in, I was like, look, guys, we're having fun. This is, we're out here learning the game, but when we're at practice and when we're at the game, it's business.
Yeah.
And we lock in. So we have a game tonight, weather permitting, and we'll see how the Ravens do.
Well, look, I hate the Dallas Cowboys, so you should just use them as an example. They beat up on my Giants pretty bad, and they won the next game. And they think, of course, they're going to the Super Bowl because all Cowboy fans are arrogant. They think, they're America's team who hasn't won anything in forever. But anyway, they're going to the Super Bowl. Then they go to Arizona. They play Arizona last week and lose.
Yep.
Which was nice.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah,
that was great.
Jeff Oates didn't like that too much.
Sorry, Jeff. My pet peeve is I have people that, I grew up in New York, born in New York, and I have friends that are Cowboy fans. I go, where is your loyalty? You were born in New York. How do you root for Dallas?
So is it Jets or Giants, or just depend on what town you're from?
I'm a Giants fan. So usually, if you're a Giants fan, you're a Yankee fan, and you're a New York Ranger fan. And if you're a Jets fan, you're a Mets fan, and you're an Islander fan. And,
okay. But does that depend on like what part of the state you're from?
Yeah, usually if you're on the island, Long Island, you're a Met fan.
Jets.
Giants.
Jets.
I'm sorry, Jets,
okay.
Yeah. And Islanders. But I was always a mix. And you like college football.
Yeah.
So I grew up a big Penn State fan.
Okay.
Someone asked me, why in the world are you a Penn State fan? I said, I had no choice. My grandfather grew up and, they worshiped Joe Paterno. He was the coach of Penn State, Joe Pa forever.
Yeah.
And, he was Italian, so you got to root for the Italian coach. So I'm a Penn State fan for no reason other than he was Italian.
That's a reason.
And New York, if you really look at New York and it comes to football, they have
there's no college.
One football team.
Syracuse.
In the pros, though. Buffalo Bills is really the only true football team that plays in New York. The Jets and Giants play in New Jersey.
That's correct. Yeah.
But whatever.
But there's no college football up there.
Rutgers?
Is that Jersey?
Oh, that's Jersey.
Yeah.
So, yes, Syracuse.
And I think Buffalo has a college program. It's called University of Buffalo.
Hofstra.
Yeah, I just went to Hofstra.
Yeah.
That's a great school, man. Yeah. They're like Division I AA, though. There's some great schools up in the Northeast. I mean, like Lehigh, Bucknell, on and on, all this small, real history there. I just heard something, a video that said of the top 20 universities in the world, 17 are in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
he always gets me about Florida, and you'll know this because you're an alumni, right?
No, my wife is. UF?
No, UCF.
Oh, UCF, yeah.
When you talk about the largest college in the state of Florida, it's UCF. And that blows me away. I think it's still UCF, right?
I think it is too, yeah.
Yeah, and that just blows me away.
We went to a game last week. I couldn't even find freaking parking. I mean, and I felt bad because I took Monk and his buddy from our football team, like his best friend, and then his dad, the four of us. And I went to like 1 or 2 games last year, but we don't go to like a lot of games. And I didn't know where the hell to park. So we're circling around, and my buddy Dimitri, the other guy, he's kind of looking at me like, well, you played ball here, so you probably know what to do, where you're going. And I'm like,
didn't look like that when you went.
No, it didn't look like that at all. And they said we ended up parking like the opposite side of campus, and then we had to walk like a mile, And I was like, geez, man, this is a hike. It's like the march of death.
But look, you want to talk about real sports, though?
Yeah.
I played pickleball.
Nice, man. Yeah.
I am obsessed with it.
Are you?
I got into it 6 months ago.
That's awesome.
And I'm obsessed with the sport.
That's great. Good exercise.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So I play my nephew. He's 23 years old. He's in law school. And it just bothers him. We'll go out there. Mostly we play doubles. But if we play a singles match, he always wants to play me at the end of the night. So we'll play, and I'll beat him 11-4, 11-6. And by about the fourth or fifth game, he's like, "Oh, Cress, let's play one more game." I go, "Do you just want to wait till I can't move?"
That's
easy.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of growing up. I'd play racquetball with my dad. And,
I like racquetball.
And we would laugh at him. We were like, "Dad, we're young, we're in shape, we're gonna kill you." You and then he gets out on the racquetball court. I swear to you, he wouldn't move from his spot.
Yeah.
And we're diving all over the place.
Ball placement.
Yeah, he just knew how to, and he would laugh at us.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "Yeah, you're going to beat me, right?"
Oh, it's so true. My buddy Dan Girola, one of Chance's best friends, his dad started inviting us to play racquetball at the Y, the downtown Y.
Yeah.
And so I went out there, we bought rackets and everything, we played. It's really fun, but it's all technique and placement of the shot.
Without doubt.
Yeah. And so I learned real quick, like this guy, Dan, my buddy, he would put the ball like where it'd come like right up against the wall. And I'm like trying to like hit it out the wall. I'm like, what the hell? How do you get that thing?
Oh yeah. It's all about knowing what to do, the placement and how to do it. But then we played long enough and then we understood how to play the game and then he couldn't.
Yeah. He picked it up.
Yeah. He was done.
Another carryover to life from sport though, right? Like, it's oftentimes in business and life, it's not about how much effort you put, how much like brute force you're putting into something. It's a lot of finesse and technique and timing and patience, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you because this is always your industry, your business is kind of like mine in one regard. In my business brokerage, especially Main Street business brokerage, when you get up to the larger transactions, you deal with M&A firms, maybe not so much. Well, there are a lot of scumbags in my business. People that, in the state of Florida, you have to have a real estate license to be a business broker. So now all of a sudden, hey, I can sell businesses. And they go out there and I watch and I look and some of the things that they say and do, I'm like, but this gives our whole profession just a black eye. Yeah. I know yours is like that to somebody. There's some people in your business that all they care about is, what's in it for me, what's in it for me. I mean, what is your biggest pet peeve in your business?
So for us, it's going to be the insurance agent with the 215 state license, which is you can get it in like a week. If you have a state insurance license in Florida, you can sell fixed annuities and equity indexed annuities. Now, not to say that those products are bad. Some instances we actually will use them with clients if they're super conservative, if they want a bond alternative, if they want zero risk. They do have a place in an overall portfolio. They can. But these insurance guys, they go out and they push them on elderly clients, on seniors, and they will sell the ones that have the longest surrender periods, meaning the money's tied up for 10, 12, 15 years, and pay them the highest commissions. And that is terrible for the industry. So like I have a client, she had a gentleman that came into the house selling her Medicare supplements. And then he ends up, after he gets the Medicare, he's just a health insurance guy. Then he starts pitching her all these big annuity products, like trying to get her to move all of her money into them, where the money would be locked up for a decade. And she brings it back to me, and she's like, Rob, this guy, he's so-and-so, he's real nice, and blah, 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 but he's telling me I should put all my money here. What do you think? And I'm like, I think he's trying to get paid, is what I think. And then we educated her on, the surrender schedules and the surrender charges. And long story short, she never talked to the guy again. But that happens a lot, and it's criminal. And I used to lobby for a group called NAFA, National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. And we would go to Tallahassee each year and educate the lawmakers on putting in proper rules and regs to prevent these, unscrupulous insurance agents from going around selling seniors big equity indexed annuities.
Yeah. In our business, we have the business brokers. Again, in Florida, you have to have a real estate license.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, when things weren't online, 25 years ago, when I got into the business, you'd have the book. It was this thick, right? So you go through the book, and there were 2 pages on business brokerage. But you passed the real estate exam, there you go. State of Florida says you can sell someone's business. And not until I got involved with the IBBA, the International Business Brokers Association, and had advanced education and going through it, then you realize, wow, there's a lot to this thing. And you're talking to someone who has a business. And if you think about a business, right? If someone owns a business, they spend more time at that business than they do with their family, right? It's the one thing that pays for the family vacations, the house, the car, and everything else that you do. So it's everything in your life, and you work hard and you build it up, and then you go to sell it one day, and you have someone there that says, well, I'm a business broker. I can help you do that. And, well, what's a good price? Oh, look, you put it out there, and the market's going to determine what's a good price and what's not. And I've always thought, well, if you're an expert, shouldn't you know what the market is today? Because the market today is different than what it is yesterday.
Sure.
And tomorrow will probably be different again.
Yeah.
And so they would just put it out there. And that's why in Florida, the statistics are, I think it's 80% of all the businesses listed with brokers. Now we're talking smaller businesses, under $1 million or so. 80% of them don't sell. Now, it doesn't mean they're bad businesses.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they can't provide a level of income for someone and provide a nice income for them and their family. It just means someone went out there. It's kind of like going and buying that can of Diet Coke, right? Well, if you tried to sell it for $5, how many cans of Diet Coke are you going to sell?
Not many.
Unless you're at the ball game, right? Where they jack everything up. But so we were just going to sit on a shelf at the grocery store and collect dust. But if it was priced right, it's going to sell. Same thing with a business.
Yeah.
So it just drives me crazy when people just go out there and they know someone needs to sell, wants to sell, whatever the reason, and they just give them awful advice and just put it out there. Let's see what the market says. Again, when you price it so high, people aren't even going to make an offer. They're going to look at it and say, well, that's ridiculous. Move.
Like the $5 can of Coke. We are looking for sponsorship from Coca-Cola and also Pepsi-Cola. So hashtag Coca-Cola. If you are watching, contact Katrina.Hopkins@RaveJibs.com.
Want to hear a funny sponsorship story?
Yeah, what you got?
So my brother was at the store.
Mike?
So his son Joseph, my godson, was home, and Joseph's 12 years old. I probably got that wrong. But anyway, let's just say he's 12 years old. So anyway,
for this story, he's 12.
For this story, he's 12.
Yeah.
He's on the back patio with his dog, and my brother lives in Lake Mary. And all of a sudden, he hears this noise, and then he looks up, and there's a bear, and it was all over the news. 3-legged bear. They call it tripod.
I heard of that.
He came through the screen on my brother's house. So Joseph is looking at there, and he gets his camera and he starts videoing it. And then all of a sudden, it's really funny because when the footage got out, so the bear comes through, Joseph goes in the house, the bear opens up the refrigerator on the back patio, grabs a White Claw, and drinks 2 or 3
of course he grabs a White Claw for the bear.
He
that
did.
Makes total sense.
And he drank a few of them. So now all of a sudden, this goes viral. And the news crews are out at the house, and they're playing the video, and all I hear is my godson talking. The bear, he came in the blank beep. And beep. He was saying words a 12-year-old probably shouldn't say. And so they were beeping it out, edited. I'm hysterical laughing. I'm like,
did Michael drop the hammer?
Oh yeah, Michael. No, Michael though was funny. He's like, well, But they edited that out. But all of a sudden, White Claw's contacting them.
Wow.
And cool. Not only that, the security company, because they took the footage off the security cameras.
Yeah.
The security company contacted them and wanted to do something with them because
it was really good, clear footage.
And you could see that it came from their camera.
Oh, okay.
So it became a big thing. So he had his 10 minutes of fame, but it lasted a few weeks. Huh. It was so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
White claw. That's funny. A bear goes for the white claw.
Yeah. You can't make that stuff up.
It's clever.
Yeah.
Brilliant marketing stuff. So what else so before we wrap, talk to me a little bit about in your industry right now, everybody wants recurring revenue. Recurring revenue is the holy grail of business. And we're one of the few industries that enjoy recurring revenue just because of the structure of the business. Sure. We do everything fee-based. We used to do commissions way back in the day. That's like, the annuity transactions and other things like that. But now we don't really sell anything. Clients hire us. We manage the money ongoing, provide advice, provide financial planning, income planning, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's a fee that comes out, as we go. So besides financial services, and I guess insurance would be under that umbrella as well, are there any other good businesses that have sticky recurring revenue that you've been involved with the sale or purchase?
Yeah, and I'll give you a couple of examples. But what you said in your business is spot on. You elevated to the point where you're a trusted advisor. They look to you and they trust you, and you do a great job, and they don't care what they've paid you because you've done such a good job for them that they're happy to pay your fee. And that's the same thing in our business. You look at industries out there, and I'm going to throw some things out at you that you might not have thought about. In the state of Florida, we know it rains a lot. We know the sun comes out, and that causes the grass to grow, right? Lawn care companies, large lawn care companies. They always sell because talk about recurring revenue every month. Someone pays that fee for someone to come out and cut the grass.
Yeah.
HVAC companies sell a lot of air conditioning companies, and when those companies go to market, the first question that the private equity groups or everyone asks, how many service contracts does that company have? Because they want to make sure that that company has thousands of service contracts, because once or twice a year you're going out and servicing that unit, and those are like lost leaders. That's like going to the grocery store and you find that thing at the end cap and you're like, oh, you buy it or
I always do that.
Yeah, or you see the ad in the paper, you go in the store to buy it, it's not there, but you buy something else, and they suck you in, right? But that's like that with the HVAC. So you go out and you service something. Guess what? When something's wrong, who are they going to call?
Absolutely.
Their service company. Yeah. So they're always looking for the companies that are just not in a business, but that have service contracts to go along with it. So recurring revenue, always takes. If you look at a business, and let's say an industry says there's an adjusted net income in that industry, if you're making under $1 million, or it will sell between 2.5 and 3.5 times that. The adjusted net income, that's the multiple. Well, what makes it a 2.5? What makes it a 3.5? And what potentially makes it a 4 or a 5?
Yeah.
Those are all those intangible things. Yeah. The recurring revenue, that business that comes in because every month that you have those contracts that they're coming in, and there's the contracts are a little, you have to be careful because the businesses can have contracts with thousands of customers, especially in landscaping and stuff like that. They have 30-day out clauses. People can get rid of you, but quite honestly, think about it. To fire your landscaper, they just have to be doing a bad job.
Yeah.
It's on the list of things to be worried about.
Sure.
I don't know about you, but
I'm worried about my David Montgomery.
Yeah, you're worried about So you're not worried if the grass is green and it looks good. You're probably not wanting to fire the guy. So recurring revenue in any type of industry, even the ones you wouldn't think of, always lead to higher multiples and more desirable. You look at. If I could, storage facilities, especially in a transient state like Florida, people, it's not like New York where I grew up. My mother-in-law still lives in the same house that my wife grew up in. It doesn't happen here. People live in a house, 5 years, maybe, and then they move on, and people are coming and going all the time. You have these self-storage units that throw off a lot of revenue. Talk about recurring revenue.
Sure.
Every month. Ding to the credit card.
Yeah.
Those are in high demand. They're always in high demand.
And then you get the storage wars.
Yeah,
as a result of that.
That's a great show.
It's a great show. Yeah. Jen and I used to watch Storage Wars all the time. you get these guys, I don't know, like a person has a storage unit, they have all this junk, they have it in there, and then the person like skips town, they die, they get sick, whatever. And I guess there's a certain amount of time where like if they don't like pay or whatever, then it's like, okay, then we now take possession of your junk and in that unit. And then you got these guys that are like looking in there like, okay, we opened the bidding at $500, that's a great show.
Oh, I watch it with my wife and she'll be like, she's so super conservative to me while on the other end. I'm like, there's a little gambler in there, right? I'm like, oh, I would buy that. Oh, I would never do that. I'm like, oh no, come on. Look, that one went for under $100. You mean you find something in there?
Yeah.
Because you want to deal with other people's junk. I go, okay, well.
Well, then you got to deal with all the bullshit that's in there. You got to dig through like all the pillows and the crap and the sheets and the.
But it's like my brother. My brother is a funny guy. If we go to Las Vegas, I swear he would rather lose $5,000 than win $100. To him, winning $100 is like, he wants the excitement of winning. So he'll let it ride. Let's go big. He's in the fantasy football league with us. You'll see him. That we have on our draft day. He'll be on the camera with us, and we're making the picks. And he's just outrageous. But that's the personality, right? It's like, if I'm going to win, I want to win.
That's the mindset with money and investing.
Yeah.
And as investment advisors, like that's what we go up against every day. We're trying to educate our clients to understand the physiological responses and the neurological responses when it comes to losing. For example, investor behavior is such an interesting thing to me, and we've studied this quite a bit. If you get a statement and it shows red that you lost money that month, you feel the pain of that loss, they say up to 10 times greater than you'll feel the joy of a win or a gain on the statement. So in other words, you get a statement, it goes up, feel good, you shred the paper, you put it away, and you move on. But if it goes down the next month, you're like, oh God, it's like the David Montgomery trade. It's killing me. Like and we're all the same. Like we're all wired to be really poor investors.
Well, look, I'm going to use that David Montgomery drop that you made to my advantage, because after this, I'm going to take advantage of you somehow on a trade for one of your other players, because you're just in the mood.
Oh yeah, I'm no different. Like we all have that. And now I'm an emotional wreck over the fantasy football trade, and now I'm vulnerable. It's like our clients. Like if you're an investor and you do something silly, now it's like you want to double down. It's like your brother. You're just saying like and that's a very dangerous mentality when it comes to investment and money.
But that's where you come in, right?
Absolutely.
You have your clients and you have to understand their needs.
Yeah.
Some are risk takers.
Yeah.
And some are not. You'd have some that are just, you make them a few points or whatever it is, and they're like, okay, but I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
I just don't want to lose. They're just not, they don't have it would literally kill them to open up and see that statement or click online and look at their statement and they lost money.
We have them, and we design, everything is custom made. Yeah. So there's not one investor who's the same. And we have clients that are ultra conservative, and we position the portfolio in a way that's completely isolated from market volatility. I mean, especially with rates the way they are today, we're getting 5-6% in money market funds. You can lock and you can buy U.S. Treasuries, the gold standard of safety in the investment world, and you can get over 5% today, guaranteed with zero risk, backed by the full faith and claims payability of the U.S. government. Like that's not bad, So, and then you have the other extreme where the person, probably like your brother, is like, I want to 20%, return. Like I'm good. I want volatility.
I want to buy that penny stock that's gonna be worth $100.
Yeah. So that's like, and we have their stuff positioned completely different than we would the conservative guy. But yeah, everybody's different, and a lot of it is expectation.
Yeah.
So like if we have a target number, we want to get this client between 5 and 7% annually to be able to hit their goals, to produce the income that they're going to need in retirement. Okay, so that's our target. So we'll build the thing appropriately to hit that number. And that's going to be different than like if we have a more aggressive person with a higher appetite for risk and say, I want to shoot for 8 to 10% a year. Okay, we're going to load them up in equities, but you're going to have more of that along the way. So the volatility is kind of like your cost of admission. If you want higher returns, you have to be willing to pay the price of volatility to get there. Now, if you don't want that and you want, if you don't want the volatility, that's fine. but you're not going to get the returns that the all equity investor is going to get. So it's like kind of one or the other, but it's always a trade-off.
We have that in my business. You'll have the person that comes looking to buy a business. And of course, they all want the same thing. Absentee, makes a lot of money, recession-proof, and the seller's going to finance the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, when those come on the market, they're not going to come on the market because I'm just going to buy and sell, but they don't happen. But then you look at the risk takers. Mm-hmm. You have people that will look at businesses, and you have to identify what they're comfortable with and what they're not, because there are some companies, there could be two companies in the same industry with the same exact revenue, right? Mm-hmm. But when you dig deeper, one of them has a much higher profit margin than the other. The other is a little less, but you start looking at it and you start weighing out all the benefits and the options and the risks of the company. And this company has one customer that pays really well and has a high profit margin, but it's 60% of their business. Well, talk about risky. If that customer goes away the day after you buy it, you've lost 60% of your revenue. But to the owner of the company, they know that client. They've had that client forever. They're not afraid to roll the dice with that client because they're making a lot of money with that client. They're servicing that client. And to them, there's no risk in losing that client. Then when they go to sell the business, and I give them the unfortunate news that, look, you have a high-risk client, so you're going to either have to sell your business a couple of different ways. One, at a discount. Mm-hmm. Two, you may have to sell or finance. Or three, there has to be some kind of an earn-out, where it basically says as long as this customer stays on board each year, you're going to get paid, or it could be monthly, however it's structured, and then they get mad at me. And I'm like, look, you get mad at me all you want, because I'm the only guy that wants to be honest with you. I tell people, I go, look, I'm not in the sale of business. I'm not in the business of selling business. I'm in the news business because I tend to deliver news, right? Some people think it's good. Some people think it's bad. To me, it's just the news. Yeah. Because it's this. When I look at a company, this is what it's worth. This is what the market will bear. I had one father and son come into my office one day. The son warned me ahead of time. He goes, my dad's really difficult. And the father started the company and he turned it over to the son. And so they come in the office and I walked through a whole valuation process that I did. Now this is before even listing a company, spending hours doing evaluation. So I walk him through and I give him the price of the business, and I can see the father's getting red in the face. He's getting angry. And so I'm like, oh boy. So I look at him and I go, is there something wrong? Yeah, this is ridiculous. Let me tell you something. He goes, company like this, when I started this 20 years ago, he goes, I didn't expect to make money right away, right off the bat. Anyone that comes in here, he goes, you're telling me it's only worth $1.5 million? It's worth $5 million. I said, but at $5 million, there's no return on the investment. Someone's going to work 60 hours a week and make no money. I didn't make any money when I started the business today, but when you started the business, did you pay $5 million for it? You put all in sweat equity. People, when they put in sweat equity, they expect, I don't care what you say, we're out of here. He stormed
out emotional.
He stormed out of the office.
It's like a house. They think it's worth more.
But he stormed out of the office, and the son looks at me on the way out and goes, I'm sorry, I warned you. But the truth is, it's worth what it's worth. And no one, think about it. If I present you an opportunity today, hey Rob, I got this great business for you. Just $20 million a year in sales, right? And it's making $1 million. Sounds good, right? Okay, I can make $1 million a year. Now I tell you, you have to work 80 hours a week, right?
I'm out.
80 hours a week. And they want $50 million for the business, a 50 multiple. So one, even if you had the money to write the check, what are you going to do? You probably don't. So $1 million, going to invest them. We're going to spend $50 million to make $1 million, which is 80 hours of my time also.
It's not priced right. It'll never sell.
No one's going to do it. But if that same company was for sale for $5 million or $6 million, a 5 or 6 multiple, or even a 4 multiple, anywhere between that, someone says, okay, I could come in, I could buy that. I'm going to go to the bank, I'm going to get a loan. This is what my payments are going to be. So even after I look at the $1 million, I take out my debt service, I'm making a great return on my investment.
Yeah.
That'll push it.
It's like selling a home. Like, people think their house is worth so much more than it is because they're emotionally invested in the property. They built the home. They made it the way they want it. They decorated it the way they have memories in the home with their family. So they're always going to think that it's worth more than it is. And it's your job, or the job of a trusted advisor, to come in and say, well, I appreciate that, but this is what the market says that it's worth. And if you don't price it right, then you're going to price yourself out of the game. So I think emotions always like come into play when there's money. I mean, we've seen that a lot over the years. It's almost impossible not to.
I had a price story. I had this guy came in, he had a lawn care company. And I did the valuation. I gave him a range of value. And he looked at me and he goes, I talked to another broker and he thinks it's worth 3 times the amount of money. I said, there's no way. I said, he's out there searching for the needle in the haystack. And if you're trying to find the one person that's willing to overpay, a year from now, you're going to be coming back to me, wanting to sell you business, because it's impossible. I said, they're trying to find the one sucker that's gonna overpay. And typically people with money aren't just going to foolishly throw it around. They're not going to overpay. So about 9 months later, I had a buyer. And I knew it was a perfect fit for that business. So I called the broker. He said, yeah, we set up a meeting. And my guy made an offer. Seller accepted. We go to the closing table. I look at the seller of the business, who I don't represent because I'm representing the buyer. The seller had another broker. I go, where's your broker? I told him not to come. I know I have to pay him. He goes, but I wish I didn't have to. I wish I would have listened to you. I would have sold the business months ago. He goes, it was grossly overpriced, and what you brought to the table was a fair price. It was probably a little more than what I told him. Not much more, but it was a fair price. But he wouldn't even let the other guy come to the table because he felt lied to. So I train brokers across the United States on when they get into this business. I wrote a course for the IBBA, Thriving, Not Surviving Your First Year in Business, because everyone always says, if I could just survive my first year. I said, why do you want to survive? Don't you want to thrive? Don't you want to make money? Survive. It's such a negative tone. So
it is.
I would tell them, I said, look, you want to do well. And in order to do well, my dad told me this when I got in the business. He goes, Cress, you could do what's in your best interest and make $1 today. He goes, but if you do what's in the client's best interest and do what's right, you'll make a career out of this.
That's so true.
And I've lived by that.
That's a great saying. It's not hard. Business is not hard. Business is very simple. It's not easy all the time, but it's simple. The formula is this. I learned this in Strategic Coach. Say please and thank you. Show up on time. Do what you say you're going to do. If you do those 3 things, you're already 90% of the way there. I don't care if you're selling lawn service, if you're selling, freaking solar, or you're selling investments. Like, that's the formula. It ain't hard. Do those things. And the sad part is today, service in general has come down so much that if you deal with a professional that does those 3 things, show up on time, say please and thank you, do what they said they're going to do, and then maybe they also do something like, they remember your name, or they write you a handwritten thank you note, or they just go, what is considered today above and beyond, which used to be standard practice back in the day. If you get that type of service from somebody, you're so blown away today that you tell people, you're excited. We went on vacation right before school started. We went down to Grand Cayman and we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton. And I set Chance on this, they do an in-house excursion thing, and they took him out like canoeing, and it's right on the water, so they took him kayaking and stuff one night. Jen and I go to dinner. I pick him up after dinner, and the guide, the girl who worked there at the excursion, she knew that Chance was really crazy about coconuts, because there's always coconut trees on the property. So in the end, she surprised him. She brought out a coconut that she had got from one of the trees, and she presents him the coconut, and he's blown away. And he's like, well, can I drink it? And she's like, yeah, sure. We got to just open it up. So she goes in the back and she gets this machete. And then for the next 20 minutes, she's hacking away at this thing. And I'm asking her, can I help you? I'm just standing there. And she's like, no, can't for liability, but I'll get it. Don't worry. I'll get it for him. And she's on her hands and knees, hacking this coconut. She gets through all the husk, finally opens it up. She's sweating. It's hot. Everybody's already gone. And then she gets it open for him, gives him the coconut back, and then he gets to drink it. And I was just floored. And then the last day before we leave, we get this envelope delivered to the room, and it was from her. She wrote Chance a handwritten note with a picture, a photograph of him in the kayak, and he's got a great smile. It's a nice picture. And the letter read, Dear Chance, it was so much fun to hang out with you. You're going to become an awesome marine biologist one day, and I wish you all the best, and I hope you enjoyed your coconut.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm floored.
That'll blow you away.
You talk about like now becoming loyal to a brand. I will never stay anywhere else in my whole life, but that one act of kindness and thoughtfulness, that wow moment that one person did for my son, it just completely floored me. That's service. That's what we need to get back to.
So here's what I'm going to put to the test what you just said. So we'll do a little business here. I was here on time today, right?
Yep.
I was early, actually.
Yep.
And in a timely manner, I'm going to make you an offer. I would like Patrick Mahomes, and by the way, I'm saying please. And I want to give you one of my bench players for him. And then I'm going to thank you for trading him to me. Will that work?
I said it was easy. I said it was simple, not easy.
So I have to work on that a little bit.
Hey, you hit the 3. You're 3 for 3 though.
But it wasn't reasonable, so
I guess within reason, yeah. I like that though. You're a smart guy. So this is the Dividend Lifestyle Podcast. We talk about how to build and protect wealth using the highest quality assets. Cress, I love you, bro. I appreciate you taking the time. It was fun. We got to talk about business brokering, buying and selling of companies. We talked about fantasy football. We talked about psychology of money a little bit. And it was awesome having you on the show, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Till next time.